Good morning, guys. I'm out here today. Beautiful, beautiful weekend. We're actually going to be up in the 80s today. I cannot believe it. But very soon we're going to be dropping down to the 50s. So we're going to enjoy this weather while we have it. But I wanted to show you guys what I'm doing in a lot of my garden areas this year. This is my medicinal herb garden. And you can see that most of the plants have been taken out, but you can see these small green things that are kind of popping up here. These are my cover crops. So I'm growing a combination of peas, so they're Austrian winter peas, and oats. And that's going to do two things for me in this garden. One, it's going to add nitrogen to the soil, and secondly, it is going to give me some really good organic matter. And so next year, I know that I am not going to have a huge amount of compost. I mean, I always think I'm going to have more than I do, but I never have enough. And I'm trying to really cut costs with inflation. I'm so over it. I'm so over spending money and spending exorbitant amounts of money for just nothing these days. So I'm really trying to feed my soil, grow my soil in this way instead, to sort of hedge against having to bring in so much compost and so much other organic matter next year. So I really love the pea and oat mix. So I've done that here, and I've also done that down in the garden. I'll be taking y'all on a garden tour a little bit later, and so I'll show you what I got going on down there. But I also wanted to show you guys something really quick. It's a bit exciting, but also a bit lousy. So anyways, you'll know what I mean when I show you. If y'all have seen any of my other videos, I have taken my time to repair this part of our roof over and over and over again. When it was installed incorrectly. So when the roof was originally put on, they nailed the shingles too high. And what that does is over time, the shingles will break off, they will begin to slide, and my whole roof started looking like this. If you got up there and looked at the courses of shingles, you should see a nice straight line right across. Well, they sort of started looking like this, and occasionally, if it got real hot one day or then real cold, and that compound, would heat up and then it would harden. Anyways, they were just sliding all over the place, and we had a really, really bad storm the other day. It came in from the middle of nowhere. The kids and I were down harvesting beans. I mean, this thing came in like, I don't know. I mean, it was like hell on wheels. It was crazy. We looked up, there was a black cloud, and then all of a sudden the ice cold rain just started pelting us, and then hail started coming, and we ran up to the house trying to protect those dried beans the best we could. And there were a couple of chickens out. The kids were super worried, so they ran over to put the chickens in, and I'm just watching these trees behind me just whip in this wind, and then I'm hoping that my pecan trees are not going to fall. Anyways, it was pretty short-lived, but this roof took a beating, and I got up there to fix it again, but it was too much for me to handle. Our extension ladder did not reach where I needed it to go. It was all the way up at the peak. I could see the tar paper, and oh gosh. So we called a really great roofer in our area. We got a couple quotes. He came out, he looked at it. He's a really great guy. So I said, well, what do you suggest? And he said, we've just got to replace it because it's just going to keep giving you problems. So they went ahead and replaced that section of the roof. Luckily, the rest of the roof, he said probably what they had is a crew of 3 guys, and the one guy who didn't know what he was doing was over here. So that was a good thing, because the rest of the roof looks pretty okay. Anyways, they replaced that, but I will tell you guys, the price that I paid for this, oh my gosh, I mean, I literally want to be physically sick over it. I mean, and I'm very frugal. I know if I'm getting a good deal or a bad deal, but with inflation, everything is just through the roof. I mean, you cannot find, those prices that we had 3-4 years ago. I got our whole house in our last area. I got the whole house roofed. And it was a high roof, it was a hipped roof, it was very steep, and I got new beautiful gutters, downspouts, I mean beautiful, everything all the way around it, for just, I feel like pennies, and I feel like just to get this job done was so much more per square foot. It just, anyways, I'm really over this whole inflation thing, but it brings me to what I wanted to talk about today, which is how much more can you take? I mean, we see everything going up in price, okay? The cost of food. I mean, every single one of us sees that. I mean, I grow most of our own food here, but I'm still going to Aldi to buy those potato chips. And I'll tell you what, 3 years ago when we would buy those off-brand Doritos, those were 75 cents a bag. And now they're $2.19 or $2.29. I mean, that's literally almost a 300% inflation. So you tell me where this 3 and 4% is coming in. Oh, wait, I know. It's because they don't include food in those prices. They don't include gas in those prices. They don't include housing in those prices. You know, the major things that all Americans need, right? So food is through the roof, and it's going to continue to go up, and it is continuing to go up. Every time I go, I see higher and higher prices, okay? Your milk and your eggs have come way down, and I think that excites people, but I mean, how much can you do with milk and eggs? I mean, they are staples, but you need a whole bunch of other stuff to feed your family. And then you have the cost of gas, right? You're driving to work every day, you're fighting traffic, you're sitting in traffic. You know, if you don't have an electric car, you know, I mean, you're buying gas. If you've got an electric car, you're paying for the electricity to charge it, right? And how many of us can afford an electric car? They're just astronomical. Regular cars are astronomical right now. It blows my mind. They had an ad for, oh gosh, I forget what it was. I want to say it was like a Bronco or something like that. Or maybe it was a Hummer. I don't know. But this thing was like $200,000. And I just thought, man, who is going to pay that? That's the cost of a house. Or that used to be the cost of a house. Now the average cost of a house is over $400,000. So, you know, I mean, you got kids growing up, you know, getting out of high school, going to trade school, going to college, getting a job. I don't know how they're going to buy a house. I mean, have you thought about the winter? Have you thought about how much it's going to cost you to heat your house this year? Even, I mean, if your electricity rates have skyrocketed. If you're heating with propane, that's gone way up. If you're heating with anything but logs from your own property, I mean, you're going to be paying for that. It's just, you know, you can't get away from it. You can say, geez, you know, I'm not going to go buy this and I'm not going to go buy that. But you really cannot escape this inflation. You remember a couple of years ago when they sent us all those checks, like in 2020, and you're kind of like, oh man, this is not a good idea. But the check came and you're like, ooh, money, right? I mean, how easy is it just to take that money and be like, yeah, I'm gonna put that in my bank, or I'm gonna do this, or I'm gonna buy this, or maybe I need a new couch, or, I mean, even if you saved it, right? You are paying it back tenfold now just because of inflation. And it's literally killing America. It is killing the middle class. If you're being subsidized, you know, by the government with, you know, if you're getting food stamps, if you're getting subsidized housing, if you're getting a subsidized cell phone, if you're getting subsidized internet, that kind of stuff, you know, you're not feeling it as much, right? Because the government's taking care of that. At least in my mind, that's kind of how I see it. But for those families that are just making it, right, that don't qualify for those things, man, I mean, it's killing them. It's even killing the middle class, you know, upper middle class. Like, it's bringing a further and further distance between the ultra wealthy and the middle class. And eventually there will just be the uber wealthy and the peasants. And I just, you know, I'm so over it. Another thing that's going way up that you cannot get away from, I mean, maybe only 1% of the population can get away from if they're living at home with mom and dad, but is the cost of taxes for your home. Okay, you also have rent that's gone way up, although I think that that's coming down slightly, but it's not down nearly to what it used to be. But your property taxes have gone up. My property taxes went up significantly last year, and then this year they're raising the price again. I mean, they have decided that my land, so not my home, but they've decided that our land has increased in value dramatically in 12 months. We are, you know, looking into that and seeing what we can do about that. But anyways, you know, sometimes you just have to bite the bullet and pay it, right? Also, your insurance. My insurance went up almost $1,000 from 2021 to 2022, and we'll see what happens this year when that policy renews. But it's crazy. Car insurance went through the roof. Have we had an accident? No. I mean, so how many of us live in a house, live in an apartment, drive a car, eat food, right? you cannot get away from the inflation. And so guys, I would really highly suggest that you think of ways that you can cut costs. You know, try to hold on for as long as you can. I know that in the wintertime, I do not bring our temperature up in the house very much. You know, we wear sweaters, we wear sweatshirts, we wear long underwear, we wear slippers. We have a couple of gas fireplaces, and it's cheaper for me to run those and heat the house than it is to throw on our heating system, which unfortunately is electric, and I feel like it's very inefficient, even though we have newer systems. So that's one way that I try to keep our electricity bill down, although, I mean, it helps, but it's not, you know, it's not pushing the needle too much, right? You know, we've even been talking about Christmas, right? Have you all been in the stores and seen that Christmas decor is up? Although we're closing in on November, so it's not quite as odd right now, but man, they had this stuff up. Man, if it was the end of September, I think it was. If it wasn't, you know, if it wasn't the end of September, it was October 1st, like right away. You know, you go into Hobby Lobby, Walmart, Target, Sam's Club, Costco, anywhere. They have all of their Christmas stuff up. And I think that they're just starting the season earlier this year, you know. But Nate and I have been talking, and, you know, maybe this is the year that we don't do so much for Christmas. You know, maybe this is the year that we just, you know, really get back to what Christmas was meant to be about, right? About, you know, grace and mercy and the birth of Jesus. And, you know, maybe this is that year that we focus on that. And you know what? I'm starting to think that that might actually be extremely beneficial for our family. You know, instead of getting all the newest gadgets, or, you know, I want this watch, or I need this new soccer ball, or I need this, you know, maybe we just make do with what we've got, and maybe we just pull back a little bit. Because ultimately, even though it seems like a sacrifice now, in the long term, some of these decisions may actually prove to be pretty beneficial for us. You know, if we can learn to live on less, if we can learn to consume less, to do more with what we have, to maybe try to, you know, maybe try to repair something instead of just tossing it out and going and getting a new one. You know, Nate has this coffee maker. It's a percolator. You know, that's like that old coffee maker that my mom used to make, and we just decided that we really liked those, so we bought one of those off Amazon less than a year ago, and I think it was $35. Well, it does not want to turn on anymore, and so we kind of fooled with it a bit, and we've got it back up and running. But you know, I mean, typically I might just toss that and get a new one, right? Because is it worth my time? Well, in these days, yeah, it's worth my time. So anyways, guys, thank you so much for hanging out with me today. Like I said, I'm going to tell you a little bit more about these cover crops when we do the garden tour. But I hope that that gave you something to think about. You know, hopefully you can see that it's not just you feeling it. Everybody is feeling this economy, no matter how much they tell you that everything is good and the job market is good. It's not. It's not, guys. So just start thinking of ways that you can pull back, that you can help your family. And yeah, I think that that's really important, especially for the upcoming winter. But thank you guys so much for hanging out with me today, and I hope you all have a great rest of your day.